Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the tafsir of Surah Al-Alaq. In the middle of the desert, on a night in the month of Ramadan, the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The angel Jibreel descended from the heavens bringing down these words from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today, all these years later, we are reciting these verses that started the journey of Quran. So I want you to follow along as we recite this surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى أرأيت الذي ينهى عبدا إذا صلى أرأيت إن كان على الهدى أو أمر بالتقوى أرأيت إن كذب وتولى ألم يعلم بأن الله يرى كلا لئن لم ينته لنسفعا بالناصية ناصية كاذبة خاطئة فليدع ناديه سندع الزبانية كلا لا تطعه واسجد واقترب. The first verse. When Rasulullah ﷺ was saying this story later on, he said that when he was in that cave, an angel came to him. And of course he didn't know that it was an angel. Something came to him that was really unexpected and he got really, really scared. And the angel said to him, Iqra, recite. And Rasulullah ﷺ replied, I cannot recite. I am not of the people who recite. In the time of Arabia at that time, there used to be people who recite poetry and say long speeches. And Rasulullah said, I don't do that. I cannot. Then the angel took him again and pressed him and said, recite. And again Rasulullah said, I am not from the reciters. I don't know how to recite. He pressed him a second time and he couldn't bear it anymore. He was pressing him so tight. The angel was pressing Rasulullah so tight, and he left him and he said, recite. And again, Rasulullah replied, I cannot recite. And then the angel Jibreel pressed him for a third time, so tight. And then he left Rasulullah and said this first verse, which was, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Recite in the name of your Lord who created. So now Angel Jibreel is telling Rasulullah how to recite and in whose name to recite and who is the source of this revelation. We learn that he has to recite in the name of your Lord, Rabbak, your Lord, the one who has taken care of you, the one who has sustained you, the one who has created everything. And he continues, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. He created the human from a clinging substance, an alaq. What is this clinging substance? This substance is talking about a piece of blood and flesh that we all were way before we even existed in this world. We were just a piece of blood inside of our mothers that was clinging on to our mothers and growing and becoming bigger, and then a baby was formed. But what were we before that? Nothing. We were just a piece of blood that could not survive without it. If you take that piece of blood and that little piece of icky, gooey substance and have it outside anywhere, it wouldn't survive. We were so in desperate need of help, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created us and formed us and made us humans out of that tiny little piece of flesh. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us all of our source. Where did we come from? We would not exist if it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our existence is the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who created us, and we know that no one of us was the reason of our own existence. When we were just pieces of blood and clot, were any of us able to grow by ourselves? Were we eating by ourselves? Did we give ourselves hands and eyes and ears and mouths and nothing? It was all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who changed us and formed us and made us into humans. He's the one who created us. So when we remember that we were nothing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who made us human and gave us everything that we have, then we recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly deserves to be worshipped, and we are in need of Allah, and we should turn to Allah. And then the third verse, اقرأ وربك الأكرم. So it is again repeated, recite, and your Lord is generous. So how beautiful. Rasulullah ﷺ is learning about the source of this revelation, and the first thing he's learning is, remember that you are human and you are in need, and the one who created you is your Rabb, and the one who took care of you when you were nothing was your Rabb. Rabb means the one who took care of you, the one who sustained you when you had nothing to do with it. You were just a little piece of blood, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created you. And then he says, recite again, and your Lord is generous. Look at, from that little piece of blood, everything that came out of it. If you think about your eyesight, your hearing, your senses, your body, your ability to talk, your ability to understand, your ability to recite, even the voice that comes out, the understanding that you have, the feelings, the emotions, everything, all the things that make us human, was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's generosity and His growth. And beyond that, everything that He gave us to keep us sustained. Look at the food that we get and we are able to eat. We learn knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and He didn't stop. He didn't stop just because we were a little piece of blood and we became babies and we grew. He didn't stop giving to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continued to pour His blessings upon us. وَرَبُّكَ الْأَكْرَمُ. Your Lord is generous, and not just generous, the most generous. He is more generous and the most generous. And then we continue to learn about Allah. We are learning about who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Who is He? الَّذِي عَلَّمَ بِالْقَلَمِ. He is the one who taught by the pen, بالقلم. So keeping on with the theme, right? We were nothing. We were a piece of blood. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us into humans. Then after He created us, He keeps on giving us blessings and blessings to sustain our bodies, right? We get water, we get food, we are able to have all our senses. And then more than that, He teaches us how to write all the beautiful insights and the ideas that we have and we share. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us and inspired us to write that knowledge down by pen, bil qalam. He taught us to write that knowledge down, and then it's preserved. So that means that the next generation can benefit from that knowledge. And then the next generation, and the information from one human to another, to others passes on. And this is how societies grow and develop. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of us as tiny pieces of flesh, and then takes care of us as communities. And He teaches us and gives us knowledge, and the tools of that knowledge, and the tools to spread the knowledge. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who taught us the knowledge of all the things that we did not know. When we came out as babies, did we know? We didn't know anything of this world. We slowly learn to grow. We learn as we grow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us what we do not know. There's no human on this earth that can say they know everything. Nobody knows everything. All the knowledge, all the source of the knowledge is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the source of knowledge. And He is the one who teaches us. He teaches us everything we don't know. And there is a lot that we don't know. So again, we are learning who Allah is. Allah is the one who knows everything. And we are the ones who don't know. So when Rasulullah is saying, I cannot recite, I don't know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I will be the one to teach you. I will teach you how to recite. Iqra. I will give you the knowledge that humans don't know. Every form of knowledge comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these verses were revealed to Rasulullah at that time of the cave. And now, the next part of this surah was revealed after, when now Rasulullah has recognized that he is a prophet of Allah and that revelation from the heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends him down Quran. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Kalla innal insana layatgha. No, indeed, insan, the human, transgress. What does it mean, transgresses? It means they cross the limits. They feel that they don't need anyone. They don't need Allah. They don't need the knowledge that Allah gives. They transgress. They go beyond their limits. They think they are more than they actually are. So again, the theme of the surah is reminding us that we are in need of Allah, that we are weak and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our creator and we need Allah. We need to turn to Him for knowledge, for guidance, to learn, to grow. But insan, the person, they think they're okay. They think that they don't need anyone. They go beyond the limits and they start pushing it and saying that somebody else gave them the power, or somebody else helped them, or that they don't need Allah, and they go beyond and they pass the limits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set. How do they do that? Ar-ra'ahu istaghna. They start seeing themselves as self-sufficient. I can do it by myself. I don't need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Astaghfirullah, we seek protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from becoming arrogant. And if we go back to the beginning of the surah and remember, when we were just pieces of blood, when we were just clot, could any of us help ourselves? No, we were absolutely helpless. And we had nothing to help us, and it was only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who made sure that we grew and we came out good. So we were never self-sufficient. What does this mean, self-sufficient? We were never able to take care of ourselves. All the food that we get, everything that we have, all the knowledge did not come from ourselves. It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are always in need of Allah. Allah is the only one who does not need anyone. Allah is the only one who is actually sufficient. He is Ghani al-Ghani, which means He is not in need of anything. And that is only Allah. So how does the human start crossing the limits? When the human starts thinking that they don't need anyone, that they are not in need of Allah. That's how they go beyond the limits. They start thinking that they have all the power, they can take care of themselves, they don't need to rely on Allah. And that was never true. When we were just pieces of blood and icky gooey stuff, we needed Allah just as much as we need Allah right now. Even though we think that we have all these tools, we're able to speak, we're able to understand, we have our eyesight and everything that Allah SWT has given us, these are just tools that Allah gave us to learn more about Him and to recognize truly who we are. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, Inna ila rabbika ruj'a. Indeed, to Allah we're going to return. We have this little time over here where you can think that you don't need anyone and you don't need Allah to help you. But you're going to return to Allah. And you're going to see, and again you're going to be in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And you're going to return to Him. So we shouldn't forget where we came from. We shouldn't forget who gave us the life and who created us. Because that's where we're going to return anyways. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يَنْهَى. Have you seen the one who forbids? عَبْدًا إِذَا صَلَّى, a servant when he prays. So when Rasulullah ﷺ started praying in public, he started doing the salah, he started doing the sajda. And this was a position of humility only before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody else deserves that your face go onto the floor other than Allah. Because look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Look how generous He has been. Look who He is, who created us. Look at, we are so in need of Allah. So we go in that position of sajda only for the Rabb. No one else. No one else deserves that. Rasulullah ﷺ, he started praying. And the enemies at that time who did not like his message, one of them being Abu Jahl, he said, when he goes out and prays, I am going to step on him. He wanted to prevent, he didn't like it. He didn't like to see this new way of praying. So that's why Allah SWT is saying, did you see the one who forbids, who's trying to prevent him from praying? Even though we can talk about how Abu Jahl tried to prevent Rasulullah SAW from praying, this can apply to us too. Any person who forbids or stops somebody from praying. أَرَأَيْتَ إِن كَانَ عَلَى الْهُدَى. Have you seen أَرَأَيْتَ إِن كَانَ عَلَى الْهُدَى, if he is upon guidance? Who's the one who's upon the true guidance? The one who prevents the person from praying, or the one who is praying? أَوْ أَمَرَ بِالتَّقْوَى. And have you seen who's the one who calls people to good, to righteousness? Who's the one who calls people to taqwa, which is to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to think about right and wrong before doing our actions? أَرَأَيْتَ إِن كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. Have you seen that person, the same person who stops people from praying or doesn't like when they pray? Have you seen what will happen if he denies and if he turns away from the truth, if he turns away from the guidance and the goodness? Does he not know if he turns away from it and if he lies against it? أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. Does he not know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what he's doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what that plot is. In the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was Abu Jahl, who said that if he prays, he's going to put his foot on his back. And when he tried to do that, he was prevented. When he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam praying, something came between him and he said, it was like I saw fire before me. And he stopped. So again, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying. Who protected him other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So do these people who turn away, who reject the truth, who lie about the truth, do they not know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching? كَلَّا لَئِن لَّمْ يَنْتَهِ لَنَسْفَعًا بِالنَّاصِيَةِ. So no, if they don't stop, and now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a warning here. If they don't stop in this aggression, if they don't stop in preventing people from doing good, if they don't stop in their lying and their turning away and their falsehood and their enemy, if they don't stop, لَإِن لَّمْ يَنْتَهِ. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one giving the warning. If they don't stop, we will drag them by the forelock. What is the forelock? I want you to imagine if you see a horse or if you see an animal and when the owner is pulling it forward, right? They have like a headgear on top of them and they could use the headgear and there's like kind of like a leash that pulls it forward. So imagine for a human there's a kind of a leash or some string coming out of their forehead and they're being dragged by that place on their faces. And this is really important because what was Rasulullah ﷺ doing? What do we do in our salah? We put our faces to the ground in humility and acceptance of Allah. And Allah saying those same people who did not want to do that, who didn't want to put their faces down on the ground to humble themselves before Allah, well, guess what? We're going to return to Allah anyways. And if they don't stop this, and if they don't submit themselves to Allah before now, well, there's going to come a time where they're going to be dragged on their faces anyways. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving them that warning. Pray now, humble yourself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now in this world, before a time comes when you're going to be forced to humble yourself when you're being dragged on your faces. ناصية كاذبة خاطئة. Who are these people who are going to be dragged on their faces, being pulled forward with their heads forced into submission, their heads down? They're going to be those people who were lying and continued in their sins. Khati'ah, they didn't accept the guidance, they didn't accept the taqwa that tells us right and wrong. No, they didn't care about right and wrong. They didn't care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who Allah is. They thought that they were enough, and they started lying, and they said that they don't need Allah. So this is a warning for anyone. Humble yourself before Allah, before the day comes when you have to return to Allah. And if you were lying and trying to stop people, then remember that there will come a day when you'll have to be humbled. And it also gives us some hope. And we have this warning, but also for the ones who tortured Rasulullah ﷺ and prevented him from praying and were fighting against him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, there will be a day when they'll have to be humble anyways. If they don't stop in their ways, well, you know what? They're going to all come to Allah anyways. And these people who try to lie and do all these sins, they have all these people supporting them. They have everybody saying the same thing, preventing people from praying, preventing people from doing what's good. Allah saying that on that day, let them call anybody they want to help. فَلْيَدْعُ نَادِيَهُ. Let them call anybody who they think. And who will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call? Allah will call سَنَدْعُ الزَّبَانِيَةِ. Allah will call the angels of the hellfire. These angels are told to do exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to do. They won't listen to people who are saying, no, please give us another chance. No, these angels will not listen to their calls. And for their lying and their sinning, they will be taken into the hellfire. If we relate it back to how Abu Jahl used to threaten Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to tell Abu Jahl, please stop this. Don't do this. Don't fight the Muslims. Don't kill and torture the Muslims. And Abu Jahl would say, what strength do you have? Look, I have so many people supporting me. I have all these people. I have this whole tribe. I have so many supporters. Who do you have to help you? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to say on that day, now call whoever you want. Call your supporters. None of them will come to help you on this day when you are humbled before Allah and the angels come before you. So Allah says, don't worry about what they say. Don't worry about those people who prevent you from praying and say that they will call an army against you and fight you. Don't worry about them. No, kalla. Don't obey them. La tuti'hu. Don't worship them. Don't follow them. There's going to be a day when they have to come in front of Allah and face the consequences of their actions. So you don't follow them. What do you need to do? Wasjud waqtarib. You continue your sajda and continue to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a message for all of us. When times get tough, when it becomes hard to follow the deen of Allah, when it becomes hard to follow the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you feel like you're being prevented from doing good and prevented from doing your sajda, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, don't obey anyone who says otherwise. Don't obey that. You continue to do your sajda, continue to pray, and draw closer to Allah. And this is a verse of sajda, so whenever we hear this verse, we should all go and do sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remember that we are bowing down, putting our faces down for the one, the Rabb, who created us. And we are acknowledging and we are recognizing that we need Allah more than we need anything else. And humble ourselves in this world so that we are not dragged in our faces in the hereafter. And we obey Allah and we draw closer to Him, and we don't obey the disbelievers and the ones who lie and sin. So go ahead and do your sajda and become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakallahu khair for listening. This was the tafsir of Surah Al-Alaq.